You're the strongest one here, so why are you still holding back? That's what Goku asks his son. And it's what the entire audience wonders, too. In the world of Dragon Ball Z, strength is everything. Battles define worth. Screaming into power is how characters grow. So when Cell is tearing the world apart and Gohan, stronger than them all, just stands there, silent and shaking, it doesn't make sense. Why won't he unleash it? But Gohan's story isn't about power. It's about repression. About what happens when you're taught that your pain doesn't matter, only how useful you are to others. Because Gohan can fight. He just doesn't want to become the thing he fears. And so, he buries it. The anger, the grief, the guilt, till eventually it explodes. This isn't a story of weakness. It's the story of a child taught to silence himself. A boy who only roars when he's breaking. Today, we're diving into the psychology of Gohan, not as a fighter, but as a person. We'll explore the quiet trauma beneath his power, how shame shaped his identity, and why repressed strength can be the heaviest kind of burden. Because sometimes, the strongest person in the room is the one still pretending they're not hurt. From the moment we meet Gohan, he's different from Goku. He's not hungry for the next fight. He doesn't dream of strength. Instead, he's quiet, gentle, even timid, more interested in books than battle. But he's also a child born into a world where safety depends on power. And very early, he's taught that his feelings don't come first. Survival does. Goku loves his son, but not in a traditionally nurturing way. He sees Gohan's potential as a fighter. And when Piccolo steps in to train him, Gohan is forced into a brutal process of self-denial. Piccolo's tough love is effective, but it teaches Gohan something dangerous. To be valuable, he must suppress his fear. It's a message that echoes throughout his childhood. Time and again, Gohan's emotions are dismissed. His grief over Goku's deaths, his hesitance in battle, his resistance to violence. Instead of being comforted, he's pushed. Man up. Fight harder. You have to. This is the birth of what psychologists call fond trauma response. When a child adapts by pleasing, by doing what's expected, by being good. Gohan doesn't fight because he loves it. He fights because everyone needs him to. He becomes what the world wants. But inside, something's fracturing. As he grows, we see flashes of his true power. Moments of rage when a mask slips. But every time they leave him ashamed, because he doesn't just fear his strength, he fears what it means about him. Let's talk about what repression really is. Repression isn't forgetting, it's hiding. It's burying the parts of yourself that feel unacceptable, so you can stay loved, stay useful, stay safe. And for Gohan, that repression starts early, okay? He hides his anger. He hides his confusion. He hides the part of him that resents being forced to grow up in a battlefield. He tells himself he's fine, that he wants this, that is who he is. But that's not identity. That's survival. The automatic repression of emotional pain, says trauma expert Gabor, is a survival mechanism. Gohan survives by becoming what others expect. The smart one, the calm one, the self-sacrificing son. And it works. For a while. But the problem with the repression is that it doesn't erase the pain, it just delays it. We see this in the Cell saga. By the time Gohan faces Cell, he's stronger than anyone else. But he won't fight at full power. It's not because he's scared of Cell, but because he's scared of himself. Because when he loses control, people get hurt. When he gets angry, things break. He doesn't want to be another monster, so he holds it in. Even as Cell destroys everything around him, Gohan waits. He begs, he flinches, and the world calls him weak for it. Okay, but this is what repression looks like. It's not passivity, it's restraint. It's the ache and fear that if you really showed how much you've buried, it would be too much for them, for you. And it's not until Cell kills 16, a quiet, gentle soul like Gohan himself, that the dam finally breaks. What erupts isn't just power, it's grief, it's rage, it's permission, For the first time, Gohan lets go, but not because he wants to win, because he's tired of pretending it doesn't hurt. It happens in an instant. One moment, Gohan is frozen, trembling in fear as Cell crushes everything around him. The next, a head falls. Android 16, once peaceful, now decapitated. And with his final words, something ancient inside Gohan snaps. Gohan ... It's not a sin to fight for the right cause. That's all it takes. The scream that follows is not just grief. It's years of buried emotion, erupting like lava, fear, rage, pressure, all the ways he's tried to be good, to please his father, to live up to impossible expectations. The boy who never wanted to fight becomes a storm. Super Saiyan 2 isn't just a transformation, it's a reckoning. For the first time, Gohan stops holding back, doesn't just defeat Cell, he humiliates him. He walks through his punches, toys with his pride. It's chilling. The boy with the kindest heart suddenly seems ... cruel. But this isn't villainy, it's shadow. Carl Jung called it the shadow self, the part of us we suppress to maintain our persona. Gohan's persona has always been obedient, gentle, studious, but underneath that mask was rage, raw, human, necessary rage. Not evil, just unacknowledged. And when the shadow is ignored, it doesn't disappear, it builds, quietly, until it no longer asks for permission. Friedrich Nietzsche believed that strength sublimated, power held back, often becomes more dangerous than power freely expressed. Beware, he said, that when fighting monsters, you yourself do not become a monster. Gohan doesn't become a monster, but for a moment, he teeters on the edge. You can see it in his eyes, the joy of control, the thrill of dominance, a frightening relief of not having to be good. And yet, he still hesitates. When it matters most, Gohan lets Cell live. That hesitation costs Goku his life. And suddenly, the message is seared in. If you lose control, people die. That one moment, that one mistake, becomes the emotional scar that defines Gohan's next chapter. After the Cell games, something in Gohan retreats. He doesn't boast about what he did. He doesn't bask in the glory of saving the world. Instead, he shrinks, becomes quieter, more hesitant. He stops training, stops pushing himself. The once prodigy becomes ordinary. By the time we meet him in high school, Gohan has constructed a new identity. The great Saiyaman, honest, hero, flamboyant, and performative. But also, safe. Because behind that goofy helmet, no one sees the boy who once snapped. No one sees the warrior who once lost control. It's not just a disguise, it's protection from others and from himself. This isn't laziness, it's shame. Psychologists often observe this in trauma survivors. After a rupture, a moment of explosive pain or moral confusion, many people overcorrect. They retreat. Not because they've healed, but because they're afraid of who they might become if they let go again. They don't trust their power anymore, because last time it hurt someone. It's not from a place of wholeness, not from a place of wholeness, but from fear. This is the emotional cost of dissociation, of severing parts of ourselves we don't understand. Gohan isn't whole. He's compartmentalized, scholar by day, hidden warrior by night, but never both. In a way, Gohan chooses exile, not from the world, but from himself. And the tragedy is, no one really sees it. Not even Goku, not Piccolo, not Cheech. Everyone assumes Gohan simply moved on. But trauma doesn't disappear just because you stop talking about it. It festers, especially when no one teaches you how to carry it. The great Saiyaman may be a joke, but beneath the awkward poses is a real pain. The pain of a child who once unleashed his full self and paid a price. Gohan's later arc is often criticized, and fairly so, for sidelining a character with immense potential. But if we look deeper, we see the seeds of healing. In Dragon Ball Super, Gohan begins to train again, but something's different. He's not angry, he's not desperate, he's deliberate. He studies, he spars, he strategizes. He wants to be strong, but not out of rage or shame, out of readiness. He even says it himself, I want to find a new form of strength, one that's my own. This is what healing looks like. Integration. Jung didn't say we should become our shadow. He said we must acknowledge it, bring it into consciousness. Only then can we choose how to use it. Gohan begins to do just that. He doesn't reject his power anymore, but he doesn't let it consume him either. He learns when to fight, when to hold back, when to protect, not out of guilt, but from clarity. His new form, Ultimate Gohan, is fitting. It's not triggered by rage. It doesn't contort his personality. It's calm, centered, whole. He wears his glasses again. He studies. He's a father, a husband, a protector, a warrior. He's all of it, without apology. This is strength without violence, power without ego. Gohan didn't want to be a warrior. He wanted to be whole. And maybe, in the end, that's the real hero's arc. Not to defeat villains, but to stop warring with yourself. Because the child who was forced to be perfect, the teen who was ashamed of his rage, and the man who finally chose balance. They're all Gohan, not separate versions, but one person finally allowed to be fully seen. You don't have to become someone else to be strong. Power isn't about aggression, it's about integration. Gohan didn't lose his softness. Sid just stopped being afraid of what he could become. So maybe you're not afraid of failing. Maybe you're afraid of what happens if you finally stop holding back. If Gohan's story resonated with you, let us know in the comments. Is there a moment in your life where you felt like you had to hide your strength or your softness? And which character or anime should we explore next? But your story is part of this too, and we'd love to hear it.